Hello, everyone. Whoops, we'll get past this again. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon for our NSPRA and Finalsite webinar series. This is the first one in our 4-week webinar series on messaging in times of change. And I'm really excited to be here with you today. So today's session, as you know, is about earning trust and respect from stressed out staff. And I think everyone on this call can probably relate in some form in having to do that this year and other years in your career. And what a challenge it can be, especially now when there's such a range of emotions that people are experiencing, and messages can be misinterpreted. They can be taken very personally. And today we're going to go through some tips and some tactics on how to do that, how to gain trust and respect from your staff so that your messaging can really be heard and you can move forward as a stronger district and a stronger community. So just to lay the groundwork for how this will work today, please feel free to put any questions or comments you have in the chat. Josh will be monitoring the chat for us, and he will be able to say if there's a question that comes up. You can also feel free to virtually raise your hand if you have a question throughout the session, and we'll get to it. In the end, we'll of course have time for Q&A. So we hope you'll stick with us for the entirety of the session. So before we jump right in, we'd like to take a minute to introduce ourselves, let you know who's here today. I'm Morgan Delack. I am Finalsite's Director of Communications. I'm new to Finalsite. I came from school PR, and I was working in school PR in the Chicago area for about 7 years. And before that, I worked in journalism, mostly television. But personally, I'm from the Detroit area, and now I live in the Chicago area. So if there are any Midwesterners or my NSPRA folks online, I'm glad to see you. I'm a mom to 2 kids. I have a 2nd grader and a 3rd grader, and I am now a new pandemic puppy mom, which maybe some of you feel that too. We got a little Maltese puppy over the pandemic period. You can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle's online here. And if you are a Peloton rider, you can follow me on the leaderboard at Morgan210. So I'd like to allow some of the thought leaders on the call today to also introduce themselves. So Cathy.
Hello, everyone. Morgan, I don't know if you want us to have our video on, but we aren't, as panelists, able to start our video.
Oh, well, so that would be the fumble of starting new at Finalsite. So Mia, if you can help me with that, that would be awesome.
Hello, everyone. I am Cathy Kedjidjian, APR, Director of Communications and Strategic Planning for Glenview District 34. Glenview is a northern suburb of Chicago, and District 34 is a preschool through 8th grade district of about 4,500 students and about 800 staff. I, sort of like Morgan, I am a pandemic puppy grandma. I get on Josh for calling me that and my daughter, but that's okay. I'll embrace that. My daughter adopted a puppy in the pandemic, and he just went back to college this week, so I'm kind of missing him. His name's Bowie. I am a runner, swimmer, biker, and that is how I relieve my stress. I hope you all are finding ways to relieve your stress as school communicators, as well as helping your staff. So I am co-moderator of K-12 PR Chat every other week on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern on Twitter. Search the hashtag K-12 PR Chat. We have one coming up on Tuesday. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see information on that. So I'm really excited to be here.
Cathy, you are my favorite puppy dog grandma ever, so you know. Yeah, so my name is Josh Sauer, APR. I spent 6 years working in public school districts. I know a lot of the folks that are attending the webinar today, so a shout out to all of you. I did join Finalsite about 2 months ago. I was a client with Finalsite for a little over 3 years and really enjoyed the experience. Some of the things that I like to do for fun is that I miss you too, Anna, a lot. Anna is my former boss at Moore Norman Technology Center in Oklahoma. But anyways, some of the things that I do for fun is I'm also a Peloton rider. About once a month, I'll get on the bike for about 20 minutes. You'll not be able to find me on the leaderboard, but you can add me if you'd like. So that, yeah, that's really a little bit about me, about Finalsite. Finalsite has been around for a little over 20 years. We have over 5,000 school-related or schools and districts as clients. So we're known across the world. We have clients in over 100 countries. Some of the things that when I'm talking about Finalsite, it boils down to three things. The first one being amazing designs. Our CEO, John Mosier, really believes that websites are the front porch of a district, and this really serves well for folks that are considering a move into the district. I think it's important to have strong design. That way, it leaves a great first impression. But design is not just about visual either. It's about functionality, right? And so ensuring that users have strong user experience once they're on the website is important as well. The second thing I like about Finalsite is the intuitive CMS. When I worked in district, I used Drupal. I did a little bit of work with Blackboard and some other competitors that we had, and they all have strong parts. But I really fell in love with the Finalsite CMS. It's been perfected over many years. And then the last thing that I like about Finalsite is the support, 24/7, 365 support. And it's beneficial to have all those districts and schools around the world because we have support folks awake at all times. And so that's just a little bit about Finalsite. I'm really happy to be here today. This is a great topic to discuss, and I've seen the slides, and I know that Morgan and Cathy are going to hit a home run. So thanks for allowing me to be here today, Morgan.
Awesome. Okay, so first and foremost, I have no idea what I did wrong here, but I can't put Cathy or Josh's camera on. So if any Zoom experts are in the audience here, we do webinars all the time and we've never had this problem. So if anyone wants to put in the chat any troubleshooting, that would be awesome. Okay, so moving on.
So
go ahead.
I do look just like my picture, so it's okay.
Same here. Yeah, that picture was taken 5 years ago, but I have not aged at all, I promise.
All right.
Well, so I'll kick us off. Why we're here is teachers are anxious and overwhelmed, teachers and staff. Everyone is working so hard beyond what we ever thought we would have to do. So it comes as no surprise to any of you that your staff are anxious and stressed. My Board of Education on Monday just informed the administration that we are to plan for full in-person learning to return as an option no later than April 12th. So you can imagine the emails that are coming to my inbox and what I'm hearing from staff throughout our district about their stress levels right now. You see it in the news every single day. It's so strange that we're in a position where our job is now front and center. Teachers are in the news every day. And here's just a clip to hear from a teacher about what they're feeling, and you can really hear it in her voice.
Really hard. We're trying to figure this out. Teachers aren't lazy. Teachers aren't wanting to stay home because it's easier. This is challenging. I feel like a brand new teacher. I've never worked more hours. As we're sitting here, notifications from my Google Classroom are popping up of kids who are handing in work. And I'm going to go grade it when I hang up because I know that they're struggling and I want them to get feedback. We're trying. So give us a break. We miss the kids. We miss you so much. We miss normalcy. Just, we love everybody. And I don't know. Show us a little bit of respect, please.
So yeah, as Cathy said, it's really no surprise that people are feeling stressed out. I think all of us are feeling stressed too. And this graphic may be something you've all seen before. This is called the Stress Continuum. And this was actually developed by the US Armed Forces as a way for them to understand how sailors and Marines were feeling in times of combat. But it's been adapted since then to be used in a lot of other settings, including mental health and other places. But the reason I'm showing you this today is because you can see from the green to the red, there's such a large continuum of how people's emotions are feeling and also how that interprets how they are able to absorb information that you're sharing with them. So if you can see if someone's excelling, they're joyful, they're engaged, they're energetic, they're fully realizing their potential. And then if you get all the way down to the red when they're in crisis, they're very anxious. They're even absenteeism is on here. I've seen people totally be vanishing from their job places when they're feeling the stress. And what that means for us as school communicators is when you share a message with someone who is in the yellow, orange, or red zone, they may interpret that much differently than when they are in the green zone. So if someone is in crisis and you share something with them that maybe doesn't fit in with how they're feeling, they may take that very personally. They may respond with anger, they may respond with resentment. And we want to be able to avoid that. And the way we do that is with some of these tactics that we're going to share with you today. And Cathy is going to share actually the most important one. So
it all starts with relationships. The relationships that you build with your colleagues, with your teachers and staff, will make all the difference in the world. You know, being the lead friend, being connected, and having staff know that they can turn to you, and building avenues for staff to connect with each other. When you build relationships, you're going a long way in helping with coping in anxiety and stressful situations.
So many of you may have heard this phrase before. I just like to bring it up again, but relationships are kind of like bank accounts. You have deposits and you have withdrawals. And the more deposits you make, the greater stability that relationship is going to have. But if you take out too much, you withdraw too much, and you don't put a lot in, you're going to be in the danger zone. So this is a little funny comic, and maybe not such a funny topic, but you've made too many withdrawals. I'm not enough deposits in the relationship, so I'm closing my account. And maybe you've encountered some staff members who feel that way about someone on your team. Hopefully it's not you, but we're going to talk about how you can make some of those deposits more effectively in your relationships.
And I see a comment in the chat from Aaliyah about spreading toxic positivity. I just got an email today. I get a few of them from staff because I'm reaching out a lot about thanks for your positivity. And it's relationships. Again, if your positivity is not genuine, if you're positive all the time, then it can be harmful, because, you know, I do tend to be positive most of the time, but I certainly acknowledge when there's something to be concerned about, or just acknowledge people's feelings of stress and concern. And that's part of being a friend. And as school communicators, if you can be that key friend to staff members, it's a lot. It's going to add to your plate. It's going to add to your own stress levels. And, you know, you're going to have to take care of yourself, but you need to find your voice and share your voice. Be genuine. And when you have that voice, use it everywhere. I really do feel like the staff in District 34 know me really well. I can walk in a building and staff that I've never met before, never met in person, they treat me like a friend, because when I communicate with them in our staff newsletters, we have D34 What's News, which did change in May, actually in April, to D34 What the Heck. I put out a newsletter every 2 weeks, and it's got a really distinct voice. And I use that voice in my emails. I don't hesitate to use humor in appropriate appropriate times and appropriate ways. And I'm on Twitter personally and as the district, and I really connect with staff through Twitter, through email, and through the newsletters. But I listen too. You know, my door is open, my phone is open, my email inbox is open, and staff know that they can reach out to me. I may not have the answers, and I don't put that stress on myself for having the answers. I don't hesitate to say, I can't answer that, but I hear you. It's powerful. Just many times staff really just want to be heard. So I'm going to give you a little insight into my staff newsletter, which is something that staff really use as an outlet for their stress and anxiety, because there's a lot of fun in it. Morgan, if you'll move me forward a screen, I'll show you some of the sections that create connections between district, between me and staff, and connections between buildings. There's a section for staff to share what they are doing in their buildings, and they submit that. You know, the other benefit is that takes work off my plate, which eases my stress level. Those are self-submitted. Just activities and things. It's good teaching and learning and other ideas that get into the newsletter, and staff see that and take those ideas and share them. You know, they'll reach out to another staff member at another building and say, hey, I saw this. How did you do that? We put kudos and congratulations. Baby pictures are always the best, so we share that information in the newsletter. But the highlight is the raffle. We have a raffle each issue, and it includes a requirement to submit something. So we've had guilty pleasures. The most embarrassing work moment, we bring that up often. We created a little video about that because it is so hilarious. We go back to it often to hear the most embarrassing moments. Coming up, the next raffle idea is going to be pet peeves. And we had a two-part raffle, submit your baby picture, and we're going to do a quiz to see who gets the most right of guessing baby pictures. So that serves two purposes. One, you know, you like the interaction, but that really makes connections across buildings. It is having people share something about themselves, and the negative ones are always the best response. You know, there's positive, people submit their, you know, Netflix binge or their favorite podcast, but guilty pleasures, most embarrassing work moment really was the most responded to raffle. And it also provides an opportunity to win. There's a winner each issue. We deliver a swag bag or some sort of swag good that, you know, builds that connection too, to have a district-wide swag item. So. Another way to create connections. I know schools are so good when we are in person, and even now on Zoom, I've seen a lot of our buildings have done virtual happy hours. We used to do, you know, buildings would do in person regularly, even weekly. It's less frequent that there are district-wide opportunities, but if you can provide those opportunities, you know, now have remote opportunities for check-ins, happy hours. If you are in Chicago and you choose to do a baseball outing, it would probably be a good idea to do the Crosstown Classic game, because we got some complaints that we did just the Cubs game. So we were supposed to do the Crosstown Classic last summer, and that happened in June, so we didn't get to do this, but this was a couple of summers ago. It was a really great opportunity for people to connect across the district. And, you know, that again builds your relationship piggy bank up, making those deposits, making those connections so that you can draw on them when you really need to.
Hey,
So
Cathy.
Cathy, some people are asking to see your full newsletter. So what we could do, if you're comfortable, we could redact some maybe personal information that may be in personal newsletters and maybe send a PDF version out with this if we're okay with that. So I know you all are excited about Cathy's ideas, so am I, and we'll make it happen. We'll get you some more concrete examples. We'll work together on that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, I will absolutely.
We have another question that came in for you, Cathy. Can you say again how many staff members are in your district, and is there a point where a district is too big to do one of those personalized connections that you're talking about?
We have about 850 staff members. And, you know, we are a K-8. We have 8 schools and our district office, so 9 buildings. Right now, we also have our goal, Glenview Online Academy for Learning, so really 9 schools now. I can't imagine a situation where there isn't an opportunity to make those connections. It might be different for a bigger district. I know Morgan was in a district, a K district that's larger than mine, so she may be able to speak to that. She had more schools in her district, but there are really, in a newsletter, you know, it may be harder to create events, but in a newsletter that you grow to become a go-to source of communication, that becomes a connection. I put inside jokes and little Easter eggs in there. People really find some things. I have one of my colleagues that is a super good sport, and often I put pictures of him in there, like funny pictures that people go to. If I don't put a picture of him in a newsletter, they come at me. So it's a way to highlight your district administrative and other, you know, support staff as well. So I think it can be adapted to any size environment.
Certainly. I think Cathy's ideas are so fresh. I think often we think of a newsletter and sometimes we put a lot of dry stuff in there, and maybe that's by design, but especially in times of stress, humor and connection is so vital. So inserting that whenever you can is going to be important in boosting morale and creating connections for sure. So moving on, we've all heard the term emotional intelligence. We know what this means, but I wanted to put it in more of a term that we could use as communicators. So there are these 5 areas of emotional intelligence that you see on screen: self-awareness, empathy, motivation, self-regulation, and social skills. So I'm sure as communications professionals here, we all have been familiar with them. But once we've built those relationships and people know that they can look to us as trusted figures, we find ourselves sometimes in these positions when then we have to share information with our staff that is uncomfortable or maybe is not going to be well liked by everyone, even if they like us as a person. So I often think of some questions I can ask myself before I write something and make sure that I am aware of all of the different range of emotions or issues that could come up when I'm bringing these topics up. So how am I aware of how my feelings about the situation might be different from someone else's? And I think this is true, especially in COVID. There's such a wide range of how people feel about any given subject that it's important to check yourself before you communicate. Am I really validating how someone else might be feeling about this situation? How can I be sensitive to someone else's reality, especially if it's different from mine? An example I'll give here, we've all written COVID letters at this point, I'm sure, about especially if there's been a positive case in a classroom is a good example. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a teacher who's receiving a letter like that, where the letter might say, there's been a positive case in your classroom, but you are not a close contact. You don't have to quarantine, you know, carry on as usual, all is well kind of tone. Well, maybe that teacher's lost a loved one due to COVID. Maybe that teacher is feeling very anxious about contracting the disease because of an underlying condition. That message may resonate differently with that person. Even if they like me as a human, maybe what I'm saying is going to trigger them in some way. So finding ways to soften the message based upon someone's situation is really important. And then lastly, I'd like to mention, not everything has to be communicated right then and there. So before sending a message out of writing or even on social media, what is my motivation for saying something right in this moment? And is a communication right now really necessary? Because sometimes we feel we need to say something right away, but without gauging the tension across the district or in the classroom or whatever the situation is, maybe that message could be held for a later time when tensions are lower and it can be received a lot better from those who are the intended recipients. So really utilize some of these questions before sending a message out, and it could save you a lot of grief and pushback from your staff in the future. Now, this ties into some things I'm guilty of too sometimes. These are common things that we all utilize in the beginning of messaging, these opening phrases that are just, you know, common nature. So examples: I hope this message finds you well. I trust you've had a restful weekend. we all say these things, but in the context of someone who's going through a crisis or is very anxious about a situation, they could be seen, you could say this and you could really tick someone off. So think about how you could rephrase this. So Josh, do you want to talk a little bit about how you can rephrase these common messages?
Yeah, and really, you know, the some of the messages on the left side aren't necessarily like, you know, rude, right? But certainly could probably be crafted a little bit to be a bit more fluffy, right? Especially right now with the stress. And honestly, you know, working, I'll just say working as what most of you would consider a vendor, right? I communicate by email all day, and I try myself to be mindful, and it's one of the difficult parts of my job is the cold emailing type thing. And so I'm increasingly mindful of what I'm saying as well. But I think if you really like, if you can in the chat, maybe give some examples about what you all have heard and maybe how you can rephrase it. But yeah, so the second column here is just worked over the text a little bit, and it really focuses on them first before you get into like the meat of the email, right? And so instead of assuming that they've had a restful weekend, why not just ask them, right? Instead of assuming. Or the first one, I hope this message finds you well. Well, that's almost like texting someone if they're awake, right? They're only going to see it if they received it. So, just something to think about, just little things like that. Cathy, do you have anything to add to this slide?
It becomes important in reducing stress and building relationships. We all do a lot of communication for our either consulting or actually writing the messages for our superintendent and other leaders. So that's, really impactful when you can help them with their voice and finding the right words and tones. And, I'm going to talk a little bit about this later. I struggle with overusing some phrases, but we have a phrase in our district because of an initiative of ours, our Be Well 34 initiative, that be well has become a really sincere phrase here. People don't think of it as trite or overused. So.
Sure. Hey, Cathy, Eric Steckling from your old district, Deerfield, has a question.
Hi, Eric.
How do you get feedback as to what works in your newsletter and what doesn't? Is there any formal survey or note you send out at some point?
I do a formal survey. I try to do it annually, but I did not do it last year for obvious reasons. And of course, I follow the analytics. I use more, and I follow the analytics clicks and things like that. But I do a survey about each section, which sections do you like, and get general comments as well. But really, the best feedback is I try to send it out on Fridays by 9 a.m. And when it's late, I know my inbox gets slammed. When's D34 What's News coming out? So
yeah.
Okay, so moving on here, just being mindful of timing here. I just wanted to share this example. I'm not going to read these messages, but some of you may be familiar with Dr. Leonard, who works in Eanes ISD. I used to work with him in Barrington when I was working there, but he has a very unique way of crafting his messages, and I'm sure he has his communications professional helping him with them, but almost everything he says is a story. He tells a story about himself. He weaves in stories about his past, about people that have been inspirational for him on his journey to becoming a teacher and eventually becoming a superintendent. And I think that this gives him a unique relationship with those he's communicating with, that shows them that he's human. It gives them a glimpse into his life. And I think that's very important when you're trying to gain trust and respect in these turbulent times. This message on the screen here, I put the link at the bottom if you're interested in reading some of his messages as inspiration for yourself, but you would never know that this message was about Teacher Appreciation Day. He was communicating to his whole community about, okay, it's Teacher Appreciation Week in May. This is last spring when COVID was still really a difficult situation and very new for everyone. And instead of just saying, hey, everyone, it's Teacher Appreciation Week. We're so thankful for everything everyone's doing. We really want you to send a note of gratitude to your child's teacher. I mean, any one of us could have done that and written that, and that would have been fine. But he took it a step further. He talked about Mr. Maniola, who was his math teacher when he was in high school, and how he felt seen by that person, and how at the end of his career, he wrote a letter to him to put in his happy file, which is what he talks about in the letter. He talks about how the happy files are there for people to pull out when they're stressed out and want to quit, and it keeps them going. So he encouraged people to send personal letters to their teachers during Teacher Appreciation Week to fill up their happy files so that they've got something to read that's tangible on paper to keep them going in times of stress. And his style is just so unique. And I thought that it was a great way to build trust from your community. So if you're interested in reading some great storytelling from a superintendent, here's the link down below. And on that note, the happy files, we all do a lot of great things to elevate our staff. We all know how important that is, making someone feel validated with their efforts. And a lot of you are doing some really wonderful things already in this area. And I think it would be great if you would pop in the chat any ways that you're elevating your staff through public recognition or anything else. Here are some examples. Cathy does a lot of this, and I want Cathy to share some of the ways that she elevates her staff beyond what she's already talked about.
Social media is something that we continue to try to grow. It's a way to make connections across the district with our hashtag. We are D34, and giving shout outs, visiting classrooms and giving shout outs is one way to do that, but really engaging on social media with your staff when they are putting out pictures or highlights from their classroom or things that they're doing or sharing resources with their colleagues. As a district, I do a lot of responding to those, and that really makes an impact. Social media is media, and even though people know that it's me, it's Cathy Kedjidjian who's running the social media channels, there is some sense of fame, and they really feel special when they're highlighted in social media. The handwritten thank you notes, we have District 34 note cards that I make sure to hand out to all of the admin team, and kind of give gentle or not so gentle reminders for them to use them. And I also hang up the handwritten thank you notes that I get. And so when I'm on a Zoom, I will occasionally make sure that my background is my bulletin board where those thank you notes hang, because those mean a heck of a lot to me when I get something from a staff member that's a thank you. I do write thank you notes when I'm invited to a class event. I was invited to be the guest DJ. One of our dual language classes every day has a guest DJ to start off the first 5 minutes of class. And that was so awesome that I got to be there. And so that was something that I thanked them for, because it really is an honor to be welcomed into the classroom, and again, to be a friend of teachers. But once again, it has to be genuine. If you are sharing things on social media, if you are sending a thank you, if you are giving staff recognition, it's got to come from the heart, and it has to be built off of genuine relationships and genuine recognition for the work they're doing and for the feelings that they have.
There's a lot of great ideas coming in the chat. So if you guys aren't monitoring the chat, Josh, if you wouldn't mind taking some that are sent just to panelists and putting them out there to everybody. But there's some really awesome concepts in here that I think we all could benefit from. just make sure when you're sending the chat, make sure you choose panelists and attendees so everybody is able to see them.
Yeah, Morgan, can I talk just a little bit about one of the projects when I was working in district at Moore Norman Tech Center, we had a campaign called 20 Days of Goodness. And I'm going to put that link in the chat. But the reason I bring this up is I believe that allowing staff members to tell their story, what makes their family unique, but giving them an option to do so, right, is important. And so when we launched this campaign, the point was to really connect culture to this campaign, the staying above the line culture. But if you go to that link, you can see that folks submitted, their favorite family recipe. And so each day, this kind of works like an advent calendar, but each day a new day of goodness would come out and folks could visit this site and see what was new for the day. And so a strong way to really build that culture and learn more about people and not just what you're, how you're working with them on the day-to-day. And I do have a question for Cathy from Patrick Galloway. He says that his principals send out their own communication. And so how do you avoid communication fatigue at the district level?
I think the messages that come from the district are really different than what the day-to-day, building classroom information needs are. So I try to monitor what principal newsletters say and make sure that I am focused on more of the district-wide information. And if I see something, I do ask principals to share the messages that are from the district in their communication. But if I see that they're just, again, not really thinking about it and just blindly sharing something over and over and over and over again, I'll say, hey, can you freshen it up? You can take that out of your communication because I know that I'm hitting that message in What's News.
Great.
So Cathy, this is such an important thing. A lot of these initiatives that we're all talking about, recognition and connections with our staff, they should be done in partnership with the Human Resources Office. And I don't know that everyone knows to have a strong relationship with that person. So Cathy, share your journey through this process with developing this partnership that you've developed and what it's meant for your organization.
So I've been really fortunate, and Eric Steckling, you better tell Dale Fisher that he is in this presentation. He remembers this picture. I know it. Two of the best human resources professionals in the country are close friends of mine. In District 109, I worked with Dale Fisher, and here in District 34, I work with Heather Hopkins, and we are true partners in supporting staff and building a culture that creates those connections district-wide. So wherever you can make those connections with your human resources department. In District 109, I was lucky my office was kind of near Dale's. So proximity really does help, but if you are not nearby, then make the effort to spend a lot of time in and around your HR department because you'll learn a lot about what they are doing and where you can help elevate their work with staff. And it starts with recruiting. You can help with their recruiting efforts on social media in ways to communicate recruiting efforts with all staff through HR. That's where it all starts. So building that culture, our hashtag on Twitter is a way for educators to get to know the district, and that really helps with recruiting. It helps HR to have people come in for interviews already knowing kind of what the vibe is in District 34, and that happens on social media. So I do get input from HR and work with them on initiatives to get District 34 out there in many ways for recruiting and onboarding staff. Heather is the queen of swag. And that starts with onboarding. The gifts that we give at new teacher orientation are great. And I love that she is better than me at swag. Heather is retiring at the end of this year. So I am very sad, but I have the new assistant soup for HR is one of our principals. The announcement was just made that he's been hired and he's moving into that role as of July 1st. And when I called him to congratulate him, I said, you are going to be my best friend. And, it started right then for his perspective to be that HR and PR, our partners, is going to be really valuable in his thought process in moving into this new role. HR is the main connection with our teachers union. So HR and I work that relationship with our union president, with other union executive board members. We are really connected all together and have a really good relationship because of that partnership. So, helping elevate HR to be a source. Yes, you in PR want to be a friend to staff, but it's really important for staff to feel a trusting relationship with HR. So wherever you can help them in that journey, do so. One area that it's such a great partnership with communications and HR. We have an outstanding mentor program for the new staff members who come into the district, whether they are new teachers or just new to District 34. And HR developed this on their own with the teaching and learning department, this whole program they put together. And because they know to come to me for communication, they came to bounce ideas off me. But HR developed the theme, got the swag. These are our mentors. They developed a training program for mentors. They developed the structure for the connection of the mentors and their mentees. But they really had a great time with, helping staff create those first connections. And what a stressful time it must be to be a new teacher in this environment. So the mentor program, which launched last year, took on a whole new meaning of importance this year. So those new teachers have a direct connection when they're scared, they're worried, they're confused about the big things and about the little things, where you don't know the players and it's even harder to find them in a fully or partially remote environment. So the mentors really helped new teachers navigate that environment and ease their stress. And we've talked about this before in school PR about having reverse mentors, and having new teachers come in really gives an opportunity for the mentors too to learn and to make connections. And you can never have too many friends.
So Cathy, this one, so we had some questions early on about what if you yourself are in the orange, yellow, or red zone, the stress continuum. And I think that this helps everyone, including school PR professionals. Self-care, it's so important right now. Cathy has an amazing initiative that she started in her district that she's going to talk about as we close this presentation out. So Cathy, I'm going to let you.
Yeah, I talked earlier about Be Well 34 and how Be Well is now not a buzzword in District 34. It's something that evolved from a tactic, but with surveying, when I came on board, the district had done a wellness challenge in February every year. And the first year I was here, I took a look at what they had done. I didn't do a whole lot of research. I just said, okay, let's keep it up. Let's do what they had done before was wellness bingo. I said, okay, let's do that again. We'll do a wellness challenge for a week. We'll do bingo, we'll give prizes, but we'll find ways to make connections beyond that. And after that first year, we did a survey on what people liked about wellness bingo. And we heard that a lot that first year, before I came, there were comments about it was a lot of eat well, watch your calories, or do some exercise. And a lot of people said, I want more focus on my mental wellness. Can you give me activities that help with mindfulness and stress relief? And that has become a bigger focus. So we created, for the Wellness Challenge, the second year, we increased the length of time. We increased it to 4 weeks. And the bingo boards, we had people submit ideas on what they wanted on the bingo boards. So we added those, and we created the hashtag BeWell34 so that people could share out their wellness ideas and have a little fun on Twitter and get some X's. And again, I mentioned that, you know, the HRPR partnership and how Heather is a great giver of gifts. The weekly prizes are awesome and all wellness related. So staff members do bingo, and they keep their electronic bingo board going all week, and they submit it. Each building has a wellness captain that you know, promotes the wellness challenge during the week with their staff and accepts the submissions each week and picks the winners, and then we get the prizes out to the staff. And at the end of 4 weeks, if you submit a coverall, if you get all of the X's on your bingo board, you're up for the big prize. Last year, it was a very cool Garmin watch. I ended up getting my own. I do not submit. I play bingo, but you know, I can't win. So I love that watch so much that I went out and bought one, and that is my fitness watch. But it really, we have this year activities that staff are leading. We've got an awesome staff member who runs virtual Zumba sessions, and he's going to do one for staff next week. We have Monday morning mindfulness that has become something that goes beyond bingo. One of our staff members is certified in mindfulness and meditation, and she'll do a Monday morning mindfulness session that we record because we know not everybody gets up early to do that. So some of these things that started in bingo have evolved and become an everyday part of what we are doing in District 34 and who we are in 34. So when we launched our new website last August, we were really excited to have an entire section of our website that is Be Well 34. And we have Be Well 34 for staff, Be Well 34 for students, and Be Well 34 for families. And I will say, so we launched our website in August. It's a great time to launch a website at the beginning of the school year, in the middle of a pandemic. If you can choose any time to launch a new website, do that. It's great. But so we needed some help in getting the website ready. And at the time, Josh was not working for Finalsite. This was well before he started with Finalsite, and his work on his website for MNTC was so outstanding that I asked him, I said, Josh, we need some help. Can you take some time off? And he was at the time, he had some time off from his job, and he consulted with us and built out a lot of our website. And the key work that he did was in creating this hub, this Be Well 34. And he worked with our district instructional coach for student services, who is a school psychologist, and they put together this website so that staff could have the resources they needed to explore their own wellness. here, I'm going to drop it into the chat so you all can take a look. The first part that they built out was for students, and the instructional coach, Sarah, Dr. Gebhardt, works with staff to use this as a tool when students need regulation, that they can go and pick up the modules that they need to recommend for students. Hey, let's go do a dance session. So it can be used for a whole class, for students themselves. So, you know, the first focus was for students, but what has really grown is the resources for staff. We post our Monday morning mindfulness sessions there, other mindfulness, other exercise ideas. There's a wellness calendar that we're starting to build out that staff can subscribe to, so that they can get reminders and ideas that for their own wellness, and they can put it right on their calendar. So it really has become something that's become part of our culture in District 34, a culture of self-care.
I think it's so amazing that you have this, because not only do you have it, but people can pick their own pathway. It shows that the district truly cares about how someone's feeling. There's a lot of good things that come out of a wellness initiative like this, and Cathy has really done a nice job with it. So just wanted
and I got to give huge credit to Josh, because he sat down with me and with Dr. Gebhardt, who had this vision. We're a trauma-informed district, and so she was really focused on how do we help in a trauma-informed way. And I think Josh must have had this vision. I maintain the communications department, but the structure that he set up for us was just really amazing.
No, I give credit to Dr. Gebhardt. I just built a few out, maybe laid the framework, but she really did all the work. So, but thank you for that, but it was really Dr. Gebhardt.
So we've got a few more minutes here. Just wanted to share, here's some key takeaways from this. This session was all about how do you build trust and respect with people who are going through a lot. This is a time of crisis for everyone. You can't communicate well if people aren't hearing you. How do you build those relationships, build trust and respect so that your messages can be heard? Here's what we talked about today. If you want to save this screen, these are the key takeaways. Know where your staff are on the stress continuum. That was that green to red graph. Build those solid relationships. Consider 5 elements of emotional intelligence before you communicate. Adapt your language to show empathy for how people are feeling. Elevate your staff with kudos and public praise. Join forces with your HR staff and consider a Be Well initiative for your staff members. I'm sure there's a lot more that you could do to gain trust and respect, and all of you in the chat are adding some really valuable nuggets of information here. But now we have a few minutes if anybody would like to ask some questions. So you've been doing that already in the chat, but if you want to virtually raise your hand and speak out loud, we'd be happy to.
Hey, Morgan, I actually have a few, so there will be a line, but this one comes from Grace Becker, Osseo area schools in Minnesota.
Oh, Norsky Nook. I want some pie from there. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and the question's for you, Cathy. Our community is incredibly divided about COVID, and some will openly deride teachers on social media. She loves some of the ideas shared. How do you suggest we push through the concern about creating forums for negativity?
Well, on Facebook, you have the opportunity to put your norms of participation in there. And most of the time I have seen that when there are negative comments, that other community members jump on and provide positivity. But there's something to be said too for the district having a public defense of their staff. And that negativity is an opportunity to say, if it is truly a genuine comment, and it is about how hard teachers are working and you are showing images on social media of how hard teachers are working. So, you know, there are limited opportunities to, if they, to remove comments that are against, you know, if you publish your, I'm just drawing a blank on words today because words are so hard in this business.
Well, and also, I'm sorry. No one can see Cathy's face. That's my fault.
Hey, Cathy, another question for you. If a district doesn't have access to like raffle prizes and stuff like that, and really this is a question for anyone, what are some ways that they can get those prizes, or are there some things that you can do in lieu of actual physical prizes?
Yeah, you know, there are times when we don't have swag available, and I will just go and do a classroom visit, or you know, have the superintendent go do a classroom visit for the winner, and we put in the picture in the newsletter to, you know, highlight the winner. But I think I saw somewhere in the chat, I was kind of scrolling about vendor swag. Josh, maybe you can help me with that, but, you know, maybe asking vendors for swag. We are a SMORE district, and all of our teachers, either individually or as teams, use SMORE newsletters, and they love it. So we do have some swag from SMORE that people, even just little clings for computers or stickers, and staff love those. So Finalsite, you got some swag for us?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Morgan, but I think and one other thing you might do is, one of the things we used to do in my old district and some other organizations I worked with, is just asking local businesses if they want to, you know, contribute. And if they know it's for teachers and staff, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have something for you, I promise, especially restaurants. So just a tip for you. And if anyone else has ideas on how to get free stuff, put it in the chat, please.
We have a question from someone who's raising their hand. Leslie, I see you, so I'm going to allow you to talk here.
Leslie is the president of INSPRA. So welcome to the chat, Madam President.
I don't know if you have to do anything on your end, but I permitted you to unmute if you'd like.
Some great ideas coming in here. Create a staff member of the month parking spot. That's a great idea. I love that.
Leslie, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not. You
Maybe
can
on
unmute
another
if you want
call.
to talk. And also there's some questions coming in about, is this webinar going to be recorded and sent to everyone? Yes, we'll be sending a recording to you. Leslie, I'm going to bring you in as a panelist. Hope you don't mind. Hopefully that way you can participate more fully. And also, as we wait for Leslie to chime in here, just wanted to let you know that next week we'll continue the series. Next week, we're going to focus on virtual strategies to do things like really awesome virtual graduations, which we hoped not to do again, but we will likely be doing them again, and other ways to just have better engagement online. So we hope you'll join us for that one. Leslie, are you on?
I actually think she is on another call.
Okay, well, when she's able to join us, we will. But also check your inbox, everybody. Finalsite just sent out another invitation for a great full day of free PD. It's called School PR Day, formerly District Communications Day. So check your inbox. It's a full day of free professional development in April. So we hope to see you there. Hope to see you all next week. Thank you to Cathy and to Josh. And Cathy's ideas are so awesome. Guys, please collaborate with Cathy. Follow her on Twitter. Follow her on the Peloton leaderboard. She's inspirational there too. So we hope to see everybody next week, and we hope to see you all at School PR Day. So please check your emails for a recording of this session and for other great PD from Finalsite. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
You all. Cathy, thank you so much.
You are welcome. It was great to be here.
Sorry you can't be seen. Next time I'll do better. Thanks everyone.
Morgan. It's okay.
I'm going to save the chat too. So
What a great topic. Very light, but also, you know, a lot of wisdom shared from Cathy. This was a great topic, and it felt Morgan actually kind of liked it because it felt we were on NPR, and I know that Cathy loves NPR. So.
well, thanks everyone. I wish I could see all your faces. Maybe we'll do another one where we're all in a meeting format so that we can all see each other a little bit better. But I'm going to shut down the Zoom. We hope you'll join us again next week. And thanks again, guys.